Hey book besties, welcome to my March TBR. Today we're going to be picking out the 10 books that I will hopefully read in the month of March. And of course I've got my little TBR jar full of reading prompts to help me out. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what books are on your March TBR and let's get into it. This is going to be our first prompt. A book cover that you hate. Okay, interesting. For this prompt, I think I'm gonna go with Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. I mean, I don't hate this book cover, but I don't really like real people on book covers, so I thought this would fit that prompt really well. Plus, this has been on my TBR for the last, I don't even know how many years. It's been on my TBR for a while and I haven't read it yet. So this book is kind of like a Groundhog Day situation, but it's not like a light-hearted time loop situation. So they say to live every day as if it's your last, but you never actually think it's going to be. You always think you'll have more time. That's what I thought, but I was wrong. The thing is, you don't get to know when it happens. You don't remember to tell your family that you love them, or in my case, remember to say goodbye to them at all. What if, like me, you could live your last day over again? Could you make it perfect if your whole life flashed before your eyes? Would you have any regrets? Are there things you'd want to change? I've actually watched the movie adaptation of this a couple of years ago and I loved it. It's one of my favorite movies because I feel like it just completely changed my mindset on life and just made me feel so grateful about life. And I don't know, typically books, not all the time, but most of the time books are better than the movies. So I hope that it's the case because I don't know, I've been putting this one off because I've been so nervous to pick it up because I love the movie so much. But hopefully this gets read in March because I will be so mad at myself if I haven't read it because it's been on my TBR for way too long. So we've got our first book. The second prompt is a book with a 5-word title. Things we never got. Yes, oh my god, this actually works perfectly. So for the 5-word title prompt, I've chosen Things We Never Got Over. 5 words. I'm really excited because I've been wanting to read this for a while and I've actually seen this pop up more recently now on booktok and I feel like it's a sign that I definitely need to read it. So I'm excited, but I'm also nervous because this is quite a thick book. I think it's like 500 pages long. So it is a slow burn romance, but it's small town setting. I love small town romances and it's Grumpy Sunshine. And also I think the second book, Things We Hide from the Light, got released recently as well, so I definitely need to read this so I can pick up that second book and read that as well because it's all set in the same world. So yeah, I'm very excited to finally read Knox and Naomi's story. Our third prompt is a book written by an Asian author or a book with Asian characters. I love this prompt. You know what? I think for this one, I'm gonna go with Twisted Hate by Anna Huang because first of all, the author is Asian and the main male character, Josh, he's Asian as well. So we definitely have ticked both of the boxes with Asian main character and Asian author. This one's enemies to lovers and best friend's brother. The Twisted series in general is following 4 girls in this friendship group and each book is following a different girl's love story. So Twisted Lovers, Ava and Alex, and that was Grumpy Sunshine and Brother's best friend. And Twisted Games was Reese and Bridget and that was a forbidden romance and Bodyguard and Princess. And this one is enemies to lovers and I'm very excited for this one because Jules is my favorite girl in this friendship group, so I think I'm really gonna love this. And I've heard that this book is one of the only contemporary romances where the enemies to lovers is actually proper enemies, so I am so excited to read that. Like, it's gonna be so good. I'm really excited for this one. Honestly, we're off to a really good start so far, so hopefully I didn't just jinx that by saying it. So fourth prompt is a book that I thrifted. We've definitely got a lot of options with this one because I love thrifting / buying secondhand books. I think for this one I don't know, I'm stuck between Listen to Your Heart by Casey West or After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna choose Listen to Your Heart by Casey West because I love Casey West books because they're so lighthearted and so freaking sweet. So I think this one's gonna be really cute. Also, it's giving me summery vibes, and even though technically February was the last month of summer, I will still continue reading summer books during March because it's probably still gonna be like warm weather, like summer weather. So this book follows Kate, who is a huge introvert, and her best friend convinces her to join the high school's podcast, and she ends up getting selected. So basically for her podcast, she has to answer calls from listeners and give advice on air. She ends up really loving the idea of hosting, and then she gets a call from this anonymous guy asking for advice from his unnamed crush, and then Kate kind of finds like doling out wisdom to others may be easy, but asking for help is so much tougher than it looks, and following your own advice is even harder. I don't know, I feel like just based on what I've read from the synopsis of this book, I can already relate to Kate because I'm such an introvert, but like I also love giving out advice. Like, do I take my own advice necessarily? Not always, but yeah, I think I'm gonna enjoy this one. Plus this book is pretty short. Our fifth prompt is a book with a 3-word title. Okay, we've got a lot of options for this one because the majority of the books I have actually have 3-word titles, which is so handy. So many options, I literally don't know. For this prompt, I'm gonna go with After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was initially the book that I was going to choose for a book that I thrifted, which was the last prompt, so fitting that I go with this because After I Do is obviously 3-word title. I love TJR books. She is such an amazing storyteller and I love her writing style. I don't know if this is second chance romance. I guess it really depends on how the ending goes, but we follow Lauren and Ryan, whose marriage is on the rocks, and they come up with this unconventional plan where they decide to take a year off in the hope of finding a way to fall in love again. So they basically spend a whole year apart with no contact with each other. I don't know if we follow dual POV, but I know we follow Lauren, who embarks on a journey of self-discovery, and she finds that her friends and family have their own ideas about the meaning of marriage, and she finds her own healing process and the challenges of living apart from Ryan. So this is basically a love story about what happens when the love fades. It's about staying in love, seizing love, forsaking love, and committing to love with everything you've got. And above all, After I Do is a story of a couple caught up in an old game and searching for a new road to happily ever after. Sounds so interesting. I don't know, I honestly have no idea if this book is going to, you know, go into happily ever after or if it's going to go into a completely different direction, so I'm really interested to find out. Oh, okay, this one's interesting. A genre or trope you haven't read before. You know what, I'm gonna go with a book that's on my TBR but I'm really nervous to read, and I'm gonna go with Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas because I've never read a bully romance before. I personally don't think that I will enjoy a bully romance because that's not my thing, but I have this book and I have been putting it off, and it's on my 2023 TBR, and it fits the prompt because I have never read that trope before. I initially picked up Punk 57 because I saw it on BookTok and because I heard that the love interests are pen pals, and I thought that was cool, and then after I actually bought it is when I realized it's a bully romance, and I don't know if Penelope Douglas is the author for me, but my bestie Ali read this book and she loved it, so I don't know, my opinions could change. I mean, don't knock it till you try it. Our seventh, oh my god, what the heck, my seventh prompt is a book with a 1-word title. I love that. I've already had a prompt with a 5-word title and a 3-word title, and my next one is a 1-word title. That's so funny. You know what, we're gonna go with a Coho book, even though I said I'm not really in the mood to read her books right now, but a lot of her books are 1-word titles. So for the 1-word title prompt, I'm gonna go with Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. I don't know anything about this book, but I know that Alexa Ray, who's one of my favorite booktubers, she said that this is her favorite Colleen Hoover book, and I don't know, I'm very intrigued because I listen to her book recommendations and I like a lot of the books that she recommends. So yeah, all I know is that this one is a romance, obviously huge plot twist, like all of Colleen Hoover's books. Okay, Next prompt, a book with a bookstore or a library setting. For this prompt, I'm gonna choose True Love at the Lonely Hearts Bookshop by Annie Darling. I don't know anything about this book because I thrifted this sometime last year, but I don't know, it just sounded really cute and cozy. Oh, okay, so our main character's named Verity Love, and she is a huge Jane Austen fangirl and an introvert in a world of extroverts, and she's perfectly happy on her own, and her fictional boyfriend is very useful for getting her out of blind dates. But when a case of mistaken identity forces her to introduce a stranger as her real boyfriend, do we have fake dating? I love that. Verity's life suddenly becomes much more complicated. Johnny could use a fictional girlfriend too. Against Verity's better judgment, he persuades her to partner up for a summer season of weddings, big number birthdays, and garden parties with one promise not to fall in love with each other. This is the first time I've read the back of the book, and this sounds so good. I'm so happy that I picked this one out. We've got fake dating. It's just got summer vibes, set in a bookshop. Like, what could go wrong, right? The shortest book on your TBR. Okay, this is obviously going to be a novella. Okay, technically this isn't the shortest book on my TBR. My shortest book on my TBR is Finding Perfect by Colleen Hoover. But I need to read other books in the Hopeless series before I can read that book, so I won't be choosing that obviously because I haven't read that series yet. So in that case, the next book that would be the shortest book on my TBR that I can read is Killjoy by Holly Jackson. This is the prequel to the Good Girls Guide to Murder trilogy, which I read last year. I binge read the whole entire series in October and I loved it. It was so good and I cannot wait to get back into that universe because I loved it so much. I don't really know too much about this. I just know that it's it's before the events of The Good Girls Guide to Murder, so hence why it's called a prequel. So I'm really excited for this one, honestly. All right, we've got our final reading prompt, so hopefully it matches up to a book that I'm going to read and absolutely adore. A book with a color in the title. We've got a few options: red, white, and royal blue. That's literally 3 colors in the title, and it was also on my February TBR and I didn't get around to even starting the book, so that's a big contender. Okay, I think that might be the only book that's on my physical TBR that's color, so it's clearly a sign that I need to read it because I didn't read it last month. But I'm gonna choose a red, white, and royal blue. There's literally 3 colors in this title, so how could I not? Also because this was on my TBR last month and unfortunately I was really bad at sticking to my TBR. I did read some of the books on there, but obviously not enough. And this was one of the ones that I unfortunately missed. I want to make it my priority to try and read this book this month. Plus it matches my top, so I feel like it's obviously a sign that I need to read it, right? Like it's a perfect match. I'm twinning. We need to read it. Stay tuned for my March reading wrap up to see if I actually read it or if I manage to read all of the books on my TBR. We'll see how we go. But let's do a recap of all the books that we've chosen for my March TBR and what prompts they matched. So for a book with a color in the title, we've got Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. For the shortest book on my TBR, we've got Killjoy by Holly Jackson. For a book with a bookstore setting, we've got True Love at the Lonely Hearts Bookshop by Annie Darling. For a book with a one-word title, we've got Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. For a book with a genre or trope that I haven't read before, we've got Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. For a book with a 3-word title, we've got After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. For a book that I thrifted, we've got Listen to Your Heart by Casey West. For a book written by an Asian author or with Asian characters, I've got Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. For a book with a 5-word title, I've got Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. And lastly, for a book cover that I hate, we've got Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. So that concludes my March TBR. This was, as always, so much fun to do. Let me know what books are on your March TBR in the comments down below. And of course, if you guys enjoyed watching this video, please give it a huge thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel down below. I post new videos every single week. My February reading wrap up will be up hopefully tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. And also go ahead and follow me on my social medias. I'll have everything linked down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!